It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Let's bring in, if we could, Michael Goodwin, the great Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist. Michael, you wrote a big column saying, Kamala Harris, step up, do an interview with the New York Post. And I would say one of the first questions, whoever gets the chance to finally interview her whenever she breaks her silence, is what is your plan? Because she has come out and said that everybody in detention centers should be released. She's saying if you're cross the border illegal, that's not illegal. I mean, this is really troubling in light of what we're just talking with the judge and Rudy about.
Yes, thank you, Rita. I was trying to have a little fun with the column. I mean, I'm not deluded enough to think that she would give me the first interview, but I thought it was an interesting offer. You never know. You play the lottery, you might win sometime. But also, I thought that it was a good way to raise at least some of the questions that she has not been asked and has been ducking. I mean, that's why she's been ducking the media. She doesn't want to answer any of these fundamental questions about who you are, what do you believe in, what policies would you pursue. Meanwhile, she's trying to at least give the impression that she's separating from President Biden. But now you have the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, and Susan Rice, the former domestic advisor to Biden, both saying that Harris was integral to everything they did, that there's no daylight between Harris and Biden on any of these policies. Well, these policies are very unpopular. Don't forget, Joe Biden was looking at political death long before the debate debacle, and that was primarily because of his policy failures on the economy, on the border, on the global situation where it looks like the world is about to blow up, all kinds of problems. So Harris trying to break away from those and break away from her own past, which is even more radical, where does she stand now? Nobody really knows. And so hopefully sooner or later somebody will ask her these questions in a setting where she can't run away, where she has to answer the questions. No teleprompters allowed.
You know, Michael Goodwin, also specifically on border, there are so many things that she has said on tape. And for her to suddenly have an epiphany now because the election's right around the corner. I mean, do you think people are that dumb that they sadly go, wait a minute, she's been saying this for how many years, decades, and now suddenly in this X month window before Election Day, she's woken up?
Yeah, the old Abraham Lincoln line, you can fool some of the people some of the time and what's the whole thing, but you can't fool all the people all the time. But you don't have to. You only have to fool half of them and until Election Day and through Election Day. And don't forget, early voting starts in a number of states in September. So soon after the convention, you'll have Labor Day where this, kind of everybody detaches from politics, most normal people anyway. And then you'll have early voting starting in, among other states, Pennsylvania in September. And so she's got a very short time period to keep this grift going. And on the other side, the Trump people have a very short time period to expose her. And so I think that's sort of the next shoe to drop that we're waiting for. How is the Trump team going to get this out here? How are they going to, as you say, all these videotapes? We discussed a Pennsylvania consultant for another Republican said early on that we'll run out of time before we run out of videotapes of Kamala Harris saying dumb things. And yet, we haven't seen those ads. I haven't seen them. I don't know what the Trump people, they're obviously probably waiting until after the convention, figuring they won't get much headway before that. But I wouldn't waste a lot of time because it's a short window now.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, John Katz, who was off today, always says, see you in September. But because of, of course, Republicans get the bump around their RNC, now DNC next week. Judge Weinberg.
Michael, you know what this campaign is so far? with the Harris people, it's the great eraser. They're erasing the historical record of the Biden-Harris administration. So Harris wants it both ways. She's experienced. She's in the room. She's a player, but she's not responsible for the policies. Excuse me?
Right.
How do you reconcile that, Michael?
Yeah, which is it, right? But the other part of that, Richard, is that the videotapes that Rita was mentioning, most of those go back to her campaign in 2019, where she was I'm for a ban on fracking. Right now, that goes much further than the Biden-Harris administration did, but it really is in places like Pennsylvania and that sort of thing. That's a very big deal. So a lot of these videotapes are out there. They just all got to be put together. I mean, I had an idea in my head the other day. There's something on Twitter of Harris giving one of those loopy speeches at one point, and somebody has created so there's Trump is in the other window, and he's reacting to it just with facial expressions. And it's hilarious because the crazier the things she says, his eyes get bigger, and it really does speak, I think, to how far out a lot of her positions were when she was running. And now, even if you say they are tempered by the Biden administration, that these represent her policies, well, they're not very popular either. So the Trump people have to find a way to make the debate, the whole campaign debate, about her policies.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it off sort of the personality and go right to the policies. Michael Goodwin, thank you. We love having you on, Michael, and I hope you get that first interview after she joins us here on Cats and Cosby. All right.
Yes, well, don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I know, on our end too.
Thank you,
All
Michael.
right. Thanks, Michael.